So, what I want to talk about is why things have to get worse before they can get better. Or, at least in my experience, why my turning point only happened after I hit rock bottom. Why I really had to keep on suffering and had to get worse and worse and worse before I was willing to do what I needed to for things to get better. And this was a really important part of it for me because the truth is, I wasn't able to fully give myself to the things that I knew would help me until it got so bad that I had no choice anymore. Because before that, there was always a negotiation or it's fine, I can do it tomorrow. Right now, I just I need a break. This is so tough. It's fine if I just distract myself. That's what it's all about, is distraction and feeling what you need to feel and facing what you need to face. And I was always going to keep on distracting myself until I couldn't anymore, until it got so bad that I crashed so many times. I got so I had no future anymore. I was like, every time I try to come up with an imaginary future where it's like, okay, well, I'm going to do this, it just wasn't working until I got to the point where I really hit rock bottom. And from there, I couldn't fool myself anymore. I couldn't, it was like I'd been through so many crashes and relapses and flare-ups that if I tried to negotiate, so what I mean by negotiate is if I was noticing symptoms coming on, or I was doing something and then there was symptoms coming on, so many times in the past I'd reacted to that in a certain way that hadn't worked, and that was to notice that the symptoms were there and then not want to feel into them. Sometimes I would, but then often I would go find some way to distract myself. And once it happened so many times where I just kept on crashing back down through those behaviors, I knew the next time that happened, what was going to happen if I carried on reacting the same way. It had to happen so many times where I was like, I can't fool myself anymore. There would be the thoughts of like, this is so horrible, all I want to do is recover. And then the opportunity would present itself, symptoms would arise, it would feel really uncomfortable in the body. And then now because it had gotten so bad, it was like, okay, be honest with yourself. You really want to recover? Well, then what reacting in a certain way is going to do. Like, your response to the discomfort is like not in line with what you're telling yourself. You're like, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to recover, but I'm not willing to feel this. That's what it is. So I would say, like, be honest with yourself. It's so easy to fool ourselves to say, again, is to tell ourselves a story of like, this is so unfair. I would literally, this is the worst thing ever. I would literally do anything to recover, except when those symptoms arise, I really don't want to feel them. I'll do anything so I don't have to feel that. But that's what you need to do to recover. So you need to go there and you need to feel that and just keep feeling that. And the more you feel into it and the stuff you really don't want to feel, that's when you can start to see that it's not as bad as the mind says it is. And I suppose that's when things started to change for me, is, it's like I've spoken about in other videos, is it's like, it's just letting go of resistance. It's like, whatever I need to feel, I'll feel it. And whatever. And like, that can be a scary thing. Like, there can be like fear that comes up, and it's like, oh no, I'm scared of this. And like that, you can feel that. So really, when you stop distracting yourself and are just completely willing to feel whatever is there, that's really a game changer. And but for me, that could only come after things got so bad where I couldn't kid myself anymore. I couldn't pretend anymore. In the moment when the symptoms would arise and I'd choose to distract myself, in that moment I wasn't being congruent with what I really wanted, or I wasn't being congruent when I said that I was willing to do anything to recover. So that could only happen for me once things got really, really bad. And like looking back, it's such a blessing that none of the distractions worked, because like I could distract myself by coming up with some imagined thing to chase, right? Like, well, if I manage to make some money while I'm going through this, then life will be good. Or if I make some friends more aligned with what I'm interested in, that will solve my problems, or something like that. Like, seeking in all these other areas in life. But that wasn't possible. All of those got shut down. Every time I tried to follow that, I would have these crashes and these symptoms. And it was forcing me back into the only place that I could go. And the only place that I could actually deal with suffering. Because if you're searching for, how do you put it, like satisfaction or whatever we're all searching for, right? We're all looking for it in different areas of life. You get the guy who's really career focused or whatever. That's just an endless chasing a carrot on a stick, right? You're never going to find what you're looking for anywhere else but here, like coming right back to where you are. And that's what was so beautiful about this, was I didn't have a choice. Like I tried to distract myself. I tried to go down other paths and they just got shut down. It was like, you can't go there. You're not going to find what you're looking for. And I was left with no choice, really. So I don't know if that's helpful to hear because the message is like, you've really got to, you can keep distracting yourself. Only you can know if you're really facing what you need to face, right? You will know if you're distracting yourself and there's something you really don't want to feel. And then, when I gave myself to this fully, when I was completely willing to feel what I needed to feel, that's when I was able to, start meditating for longer periods of time, because I was like, oh, whatever comes up, that's okay. And then then it became like a positive cycle of, then I could sit for longer periods of time, and then my body really calmed down, and then it wasn't so much in the thoughts and all of that. So yeah, I guess suffering really badly, crashing so many times until there was nothing left. Again, every other place I tried to look was like trying to, like I ended a relationship and then I was struggling so much, try to cling on to any support from anywhere else you can, but none of that was going to work. And as I said, that all got shut down. Like, as hard as I tried to distract myself or find another way out, there wasn't. And at the time, it was brutal. It was like, it felt so difficult, but it really was the greatest gift. It was a blessing, because, as I said, I couldn't have found what I needed in any of those avenues. Had to go inward, however you want to put it. I had to come back to here, to what was in the body, to investigating myself, the present moment, all of those things. So if I could summarize the recovery journey for myself, it was about letting go of distractions and becoming willing to feel what I needed to feel. And then it becomes much more simple, because you start to know when you're not doing what you need to do, right? Like, when I'm distracting myself, it's quite obvious. It's like, thinking of going to sit and meditate for an hour. Oh, well, what if I just lie in bed and scroll through YouTube? It's quite clear to me that I'm not being authentic with myself. So it's as simple as that, as following your instinct of what you know you should do. And you can distract yourself again. Like, it took me a long time before I really accepted that I had to go where I didn't want to go. And I was only able to do that because the suffering got so bad. If the suffering wasn't so bad, I would have continued to distract myself. So it's like, I'm sure it's not what a lot of people want to hear, but that's how it was for me. It had to keep getting worse until it was so uncomfortable that I knew I had to go. I didn't have a choice anymore. as I said, like I needed that really rock bottom, failing at everything else. There was no way to distract myself anymore. There was no, I mean, there was still interest in other things, but there was a knowing that I wasn't going to find what I needed in those things, you know? I could distract myself with something, but I knew deep down that I was just distracting myself. So I'd say be honest with yourself. Whatever you putting your energy into, whatever you're focusing on, do you really feel like that is going to give you what you need, what it is you're looking for? And I think you'll find, if you're really honest with yourself, that a lot of the time it's just distraction from facing what you don't want to face. And the beauty of it is, when you are willing to face what you don't want to face, when you just become so willing to feel what you need to feel, and really just sit with what's there, that's when it's a wonderful surprise that what you really feared, what you were running from the whole time, was what you actually wanted. It wasn't. It's not this terrible thing. Is when you're willing to actually feel into it and go there. It's a surprise that it's not what the mind was saying it was. You know, you can sit there and feel this really uncomfortable thing building up, maybe this fear, whatever, and you just be willing to absolutely let it come and just let it consume you, let it be there, however much it wants to, and then it's like, it's such a relief, because it's like, oh my gosh, the whole problem was me not wanting to feel this. That was the problem. Me running away from this was what was causing the suffering. There's nothing inherent in whatever it is that it's not like you let it come and then it's just, I mean, it can overwhelm you. It can be an overwhelming feeling, but it doesn't. It's a relief, and you see, it's not what the mind said it was. So I don't know if that makes any sense. I find it sometimes difficult to talk about, to put it into words to relate to other people. It's because it's such a personal experience, I guess. You know, it's just it's not about words. It's about feeling into yourself, I suppose. But yeah, that was really important for my recovery journey, and I just want to emphasize that it for me, it needed to get worse. But once I was willing to go where I didn't want to, that's when everything changed. And then I no longer needed to run from everything, because then there's still a lot of conditioning of, like, you can know that whatever arises is okay to be there, but still really resist it. And it takes a consistent feeling into it, returning to accepting it. Like, I still have times now where there's something I don't want to feel, and it's no longer in the labels of like chronic illness and symptoms. Oh, this is because I pushed too hard or whatnot. It's not. It's just like sometimes there's contraction and tension in the body that I don't want to feel, resistance to a certain emotion, and then noticing, oh shit, I'm resisting that, and then maybe I distract myself sometimes, because now it's easier to distract myself because I don't have this like, I can't do it anymore. Like, now I could just sit and watch TV or something, but I can do that for as long as I want, until I realize that I really have to, like, that's not going to get me anywhere. That's just putting it off. And then it's noticing, like, oh shit, that's just my resistance patterns that I have to work through. So yeah, it takes like a willingness to keep coming back and keep feeling this, and then it slowly starts to change the way we approach this. So I hope that helps. And yeah, good luck with this.